What is going on, y'all? It is the Caveman. I'm here with Football with Oz Austin for episode 22 of Against the Blitz. And we're going to stick to draft content today, but we're going to stray away from 2025 just a little bit, kind of give ourselves a little bit of a break. And this is going to be fun. We're going to go back to the 2024 draft and grade every selection in the first round. And actually, we're going to go up to pick 40, kind of extend it into the second round for reasons that we'll get into later. But this should be fun. I had a good time planning for this one.
It was fun. And to try and explain myself early, I kind of broke it down partially just how they played last season, but also partially how I think they're going to do going forward. So part of my grade was based on how good the guys behind them were. So say player A got picked first overall and player B behind him was better, that might kind of hurt your grade a little bit. And then if you were hurt, I couldn't really give you much of a grade, but I try to project how good you'll be on that team.
Yeah, the way I graded it was similar. I was finding myself kind of throwing A pluses around a little bit more than I thought I would. But that was because an A plus could apply to a player that I thought was either the right pick in that scenario, or even if I didn't think it was, it still ended up working out for them. So it was a little bit loose for what an A plus standard might be for anything.
Yeah, I have 7 out of 40 are A pluses on mine.
Well,
so
I think I have more than that.
It felt like a lot. It felt like a lot of A's because there was a lot of good picks. It was a stacked draft, but I only had a handful of D's, so the ones that are D's, I felt pretty strong. One single F in this in this cycle. So overall, it was a good draft, but I am kind of excited to go back and see who teams missed out on, who was picked just before them that ended up being a lot worse. It's kind of it's hard to look back on as a certain team.
Yeah, it is, and I want to preface too that we're not looking at it from a complete hindsight perspective or trying to keep their perspective in frame from what they were feeling like they needed at the time. So we're not going to pull, a fourth rounder that excelled into the first round or feel like they should have went with this guy that did that played this position and did we're not going to do that. If they were within range, then they should have went with them, or the pick was bad. You get it. So we're not going to be ridiculous is basically.
Yeah, what do you mean Bucky Irving wasn't 21 overall? You idiots, you should have known.
Right, exactly. We're not going to blame. We're not going to point the finger at teams that missed.
We're smarter than that.
Right. All right. So the way that we're going to go through this is pretty straightforward. There are going to be some picks we zoom by. And there are going to be some that require some explanation. So the 101 was, of course, Caleb Williams. And I'm going to say something. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm giving it an A+. I know Jaden Daniels was exceptional, but in no universe was he at that time a better prospect. I also don't think, given the context of both offenses, that Caleb was given the best shake either. So I know it's only been a season. It's been one season, and one was much better than the other. But I would say, still with confidence, that 15 years down the line, Caleb Williams could still end up being the much better quarterback. So I still think it's an A+.
Agreed. I don't have an A+. I have an A-, but that's still, it feels a lot more generous than people want to say. The only reason he's not higher is just because they didn't win and Daniels was right behind him. But still, I think he was the only pick. It would have been dumb to take anyone else. And for him to put up pretty good production with Shane Waldron, Larry Borum on his offensive line, and Matt Eberflus as his head coach, no one else was winning games or putting up good production. It wasn't happening. But now that he has Ben Johnson, hopefully an offensive line upgrade, hopefully a run game upgrade, I think we're going to see something really, really special this season.
I agree. I'm really excited because Caleb Williams has had a very, very large group of haters since people were aware of him in the NFL draft process. So even before that, for that matter. So I want those people to eat their words so bad, especially the Bears fans that wanted to keep Justin Fields, which never made sense to me. ever.
Caleb last season was more impressive than any field season ever. And I can say that with pretty like severe confidence. Like, but he paints his nails and he cried one time, so he's a bust. Yeah,
exactly right. Well, he can't pass from the pocket. Okay, and Fields can.
He can't pass from anywhere.
Except Fields can't pass from anywhere. So it's like, what are we talking about here? That discourse drove me crazy. But yeah, I agree. Caleb Williams was undoubtedly the right pick then, and I would say now. 102 though, Jaden Daniels. I mean, there's not much to say about this. It was an A+. I think my only comment on this is I was adamant that Drake May should be the pick. I mocked that Drake May would be the pick, even though it got out that wasn't going to be the case. I still just ignored that noise because I was so stubborn on the fact that May was the better prospect and he was the better quarterback. So how could they possibly mess it up? And I thought they did, but obviously they didn't. So
no, yeah, A+ for me, easy. I mean, when you're a guy that's fairly consensus, like a top 10 quarterback or really close to it on like everyone's board as a rookie, and when they had to make a decision, him over May, like that, it wasn't just like he fell into their lap. Like they had to pick between two really good prospects, and they picked the one that was a little riskier, in my opinion. Like he only had 1 year of like really good production. It was a little older. A dual threat, a really skinny dual threat. Like it wasn't guaranteed, but they killed it. They absolutely killed it.
Agreed. I don't think there's going to be much controversy on that one.
No.
But same thing can be said for New England at 3. They were going to be choosing whoever was left. I do think Drake May is going to be probably in the conversation with these two guys down the line too. It's the same kind of thought process. After one season, he might be the forgotten guy out of the bunch. I mean, even Bo Nix is a guy that got a lot of notoriety and stuff. So May's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle. So give it 5-6 years. I think this is going to be one of the best AFC quarterbacks in football. So A+.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just went A because the production wasn't there, but the tape was and everything else was. I mean, I also just kind of didn't give it an A+ because they didn't really have a choice. Like they were going quarterback. Like it had to happen. So I mean, I usually don't give an A+ unless like they had to make a decision and the decision they made was great. They just had to pick him. Like there was no choice. And he ended up being really, really impressive. I love Drake May.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess I didn't think about it that way when I was throwing my grades out. Maybe that's why I have so many A's, high A's, because there were picks where it's like, well, obviously that was their choice. But that's kind of how Arizona's pick might be perceived. Marvin Harrison was the consensus receiver at that time. Well, not according to Chris Sims, at least, but according to most people, Maserati Marv was one of the greatest receiver prospects ever. And I actually gave this one a B+ because I feel like you can't, after the season that Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas had respectively. B+.
I mean, I gave it a B.
Yeah.
Because, like, I had Neighbors rated higher myself. I didn't have BTJ higher. That was a crazy pull. But I did have Neighbors. Like, I don't know. He's just so much more, like, complete at the NFL level. And it kind of felt like Marvin Harrison was, like, running with, like, really wet shoes on. Like, they were just heavy. And it was weird. He didn't mesh with Kyler. I don't think Kyler's going anywhere, so they're going to have to start meshing now. But, yeah. With Neighbors 2 spots behind him putting up mediocre production outside of like one game, B. Nothing more to it.
I think his season was made to look worse because of what Neighbors did, and then even worse because of Brian Thomas. So it's like,
yes,
yeesh. This is It wasn't even bad. I mean, I think he almost had 800 yards, right? Didn't he?
It wasn't terrible. It was just like per expectations, per being the 4th overall pick. Like 4th overall picks like AJ Green. Like you need to be putting up AJ Green kind of stuff when you're 4th overall. Like Jamar Chase. Like he's got to step it up a lot in this coming season.
Yeah, and this will be my quarterly reminder to not draft rookie receivers in the first round of fantasy football, or any rookie for that matter. Draft someone that you know is established and that will produce, that did produce. Just please. Hey. It happened with Bijan. It happened with fucking Marvin Harrison. Just don't do it. Please stop.
I drafted rookie Saquon and rookie Zeke. I have to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it.
That was a while ago, though. We got recent sample sizes here, but fair. You're right.
I'm
I could
getting
see Bijan
rookie Genty too. I'm gonna keep doing it.
in the first. In the first, no, don't do it, please. That's interesting. Where will he get drafted? It's gonna be in the first. It has to be, right?
It will be,
especially if he's with Chicago.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Antonio Gibson were drafted like the end of the first one time. Like he's better than them at least.
Yeah, I mean, Bijan was up there. Yeah, he probably will be. To think about it, I have not put much thought to fantasy draft.
Me neither. I hate fantasy today. Yeah.
All right.
Well,
where are we? 5.
Yep. The Chargers, which was like the first real decision, like the first one that you couldn't pencil in, and I think they made the right choice. A+. Joe Alt, that big ass right tackle from Notre Dame. He was playing Pro Bowl level immediately, so A+.
Yeah, there's not much else to say. A+.
No.
A+.
Yeah.
Giants, though, A+.
Yeah. Again, I mean, they could have maybe gone right tackle, but I guess they wanted just to see if Evan Neal could maybe develop. He didn't, but they picked a Pro Bowl level receiver. A+. No problems for me.
Yep, I agree. But Tennessee's pick, this is, I want to get your thoughts here. So J.C. Latham, depending on what board you looked at, he ranged anywhere from like tackle 2 to like 4 or 5 at that time. I was trying to jog my memory as to how I felt about him back then. And I came to the consensus that I just don't think, not only do I think they made the wrong choice as far as tackle went, but I almost wouldn't have, if that was my choice, I would have just tried to trade back. I'm not sure if they did, but I think Tennessee had, for the premium players that were available, none of them fit what they needed. And if tackle was, like I said, what you were going for, I would have rather you dip out instead of going with Latham or even any of the other, maybe Fashanu, but otherwise, I don't know. I think I would have been more comfortable with anything but what ended up happening here.
I had him rated lower than every single tackle that went in the first round besides Tyler Guyton. So, like, I had him almost even as a guard. I felt more comfortable with him at guard. So, I gave this pick a D.
Wow.
Or a D- because I don't know. I feel like when they draft a guy and then now they're immediately overpaying Dan Moore to take over his spot and hopefully move Latham to a better spot, like it's not my pick, man. It was a bad pick at the time. It's a bad pick now. They still don't really know, have a true position for him. It's not good.
Yeah, I gave it a C as well. And I mean, he gave up, like, granted, he's pass protecting for Will Levis for a lot of the year, but I think he gave up like 8 sacks or something. Like, he gave up an absurd amount of sacks, a ton of pressures. Like, I think it might have been 10. It was a crazy number.
Jesus.
But he gave up a lot of sacks. It just was a bad year. It was a bad pick. It's a C. Maybe they figure it out, but I gave that one.
7th overall is like a premium player. Like, 7th overall needs to be like a top 4 or 5 player on your team by the time he's in like year 2, year 3. Mm-hmm. And he's like not even close. They actually drafted his replacement. They overpaid Dan Moore to replace him. So no way, no.
Poor Tennessee. Well,
he got Randy Carthon fired. Yeah,
really. Another controversial selection here. Atlanta at the 108, who had me audibly losing my shit, actually on live stream, losing my absolute fucking mind that they went with Michael Penix. And I still give it a D. I'm still influenced by the position they were in at that point. And I get that it might have worked out now, but the process that they took to get here was so bad that I'm going to let it influence how I grade this. Like, I just cannot imagine feeling like you need to draft a quarterback with the 8th overall pick after signing a guy for 40 plus a year. Like, if you're that unconfident in Kirk, you just shouldn't have signed him in the first place. Like, that's really it.
Yeah. I was D+ only because he played kind of well, but I'm with you completely. Like, the process was so bad. I didn't really like him much more than Bo Nix or JJ McCarthy, to be honest.
Mm-mm.
So I think taking him at 8 without even like an attempt at moving back a hair. Um, I don't think that Michael Penix makes you much better than having someone like Kirk, especially when that 8th overall pick could have and should have been Jared Verse
Yeah,
or
that's
someone
what I
like
wrote.
Jared Verse.
That's what I
So
wrote.
like, I think Verse makes you better. I don't think Penix is ever going to be much more than at his peak, even more what Geno Smith is now, and I think that's years down the line. So I don't know. I think it was just bad process, mediocre results. That's a D plus for me.
Yeah, I mean, they needed pass rush then. They still need pass rush now. They sure figured out their quarterback, but yeah, I mean, Verse, yeah, they could be without a quarterback right now, like a big question mark at that spot with Jared Verse, and I still might feel better about their position than I do right now.
I would, because they have Bijan and Tyler Algier, and they have decent weapons in Drake London and Kyle Pitts and Darnell Mooney. Like, the quarterback could just slide in with a good offensive line and just be okay. Like, I'd actually rather this team be a run the ball, operate within RPOs and screens and just make this like your team. But I don't want this to be like a high volume sideline passing attack. Like, that's not who they're supposed to be, but that's who they'll be with Penix. And I don't like that.
Yeah, I think Raheem Morris should have been fired before he walked through the door, but I don't think he lasts 2 more years. Like, if he gets fired after this year, I would not be surprised. I might even bet on some offshore book because I think he's horrible.
Offshore.
So D and D plus for Atlanta. Yep. For Chicago at the 109, I'm interested to hear your thoughts because I know how you feel. I feel like you've talked about how you feel about the receivers specifically, but in terms of the position they were in, I'm interested to get your thoughts. I gave it an A+ because it felt like the absolute right move at the time to me. And I do still think out of everything else they could have drafted around there, I wasn't feeling like there was really any other move to make. So I was a fan of it.
Yeah, I was at the time. I gave it a B. And I think that's because of like, he produced okay. He definitely didn't produce like the number 9 receiver almost always produces like. And part of that was just on the offense, but I feel like he didn't really show off a lot of the traits that like I thought that he would be showing off. Like, he still didn't separate well, didn't really show anything after the catch, and he didn't dominate at the catch point like a lot of people thought he really would. So I don't know. I'm still not super sold on him yet, especially after seeing what guys like Brian Thomas just did, seeing some of the other pass rushers and linemen that are still available at this point. So I don't know. It was the pick. Like, they should have picked him anyways. He's a good player. They still need receivers, but I don't know. It just feels like okay. It just feels like an average pick to me. I think he's just going to be a decent receiver, but probably not too much more than that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like I should have influenced production more in this. I just so focused on like the pick.
Well, it's like production, but also like translating that going forward. It's like if a guy doesn't produce a ton, but I see him separating, I see him getting open, and it's just not quite clicking.
Yeah.
Then I can work with that. But I don't know. It just felt like most of his production came from like red zone and schemed open targets. Like, I didn't see him win a ton with any consistency. So I think it might be like another few years until he really can pop off.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, he had that one monster game.
Yeah,
I remember who against, but I remember watching the game back, and he could have had like 150 more yards and like 2 more touchdowns, but Caleb kept missing him deep. Like, it was insane. And then there was just kind of like, that was kind of it. It was kind of like Marvin's year. There was like
one crazy game, and then just disappears.
Yeah,
for games on end.
10 at Minnesota selection. I did not think, at least per my mock, I went back and looked, I have Minnesota jumping up to 5 and drafting McCarthy. I don't exactly remember why I felt like they were threatened. But anyway, I got the pick right. I think they made the pick correctly, and I gave it an A+. They have their franchise guy. They're sticking with him now. They can't control he got hurt. So,
yeah. I just gave it a B- because we haven't seen anything yet. Yeah. Not a B-, a B+, sorry. But yeah, I mean, I like all of the tools he has. I like the brain that he has. I like the way he fits in that offense. And I think this is the first guy in a while that will elevate this offense. Like, I think the other guys executed it and just got the ball to Jefferson and Hawkinson. But, like, I think this is the first guy that they can, like, get creative with and can take them over the top and take them over that edge. So if he pans out, even to be decent, this is a good pick.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the floor feels so high, especially with Kevin O'Connell. Like, you said it exactly right. Like, the fit is so perfect. It feels so right.
Yep.
I'm excited to see that. The Jets at 11. This pick I gave a C for Olu Fashanu. We're in the same position they were last year. They took Fashanu 11th overall, and here we are. They still need offensive line help. They also still need a pass catcher, and they left Brock Bowers sitting on the board when Aaron Rodgers was their quarterback. And now you look back, and it's like he probably, A, doesn't have the season he had with the Raiders, with the Jets. Maybe. But B, like, I lost my train of thought. Either way, Brock Bowers, in my opinion, was, after the year he had, just too generational to pass up. I mean, probably in a redraft, he goes higher.
In a redraft, he's going top 6 for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I gave it a B-, and that's because I actually really like Olu Fashanu. Like, I think he's still going to be a really good player. I don't love the fit, though. Like, I think that he is as pure of a, like, traditional pass pro tackle there is. I think that you could, if they play him at left and they replace right, I think that he could be, like, a legitimately top 15 tackle pretty quickly. But they're kind of looking like a running team now with Fields and Breece Hall and the other backups. Like, he's not that. Like, he is a pure pass pro tackle, and I don't like how this is meshing at all. Like, if Fashanu would have gone to the Titans, I would have loved that. But, like, this is not making sense to me, especially with Bowers there. So he gets a B for now. I love the player, hate the fit. It's kind of like my thing.
That makes me want to ask, because I certainly am. I was not nearly in the weeds with trench guys last year. You have definitely inspired me to be more so this year, but I can't remember JC Latham's exact profile. And the reason I ask is because I did read earlier today that Fashanu was, like you said, a pure pass pro guy, and that's how he was scouted going into the class. So it makes me wonder why the Titans, that were looking at a tackle with Brian Callahan, who was going to have Will Levis dropping back out of shotgun as much as he did, purely passing. Why would you not want to have a pure pass protecting tackle for it? Like, I none of it makes sense to me what Tennessee was doing. And, like, I just want to get your thoughts on that.
I don't know. I don't think a lot of people ever viewed him as, like, a true pass pro left tackle, Latham. A lot of people kind of had him mocked in, like, the middle first. I know the Bengals were really popular. It was like him or Mims. Everyone was like, it was him or Mims. And then he goes at 7. And they're like, okay, well, that answers that. Like, that's insane. But a lot of people viewed him as a guard because he's so bulky. Like, his legs are huge. They're super thick, but he can't move that quick. Better run blocker than pass blocker, in my opinion, at least projection wise. So I don't ever understand it. But, like, my only train of thought is that Brian Callahan comes from Cincinnati, who worked with Frank Pollock for a long time, who is the biggest fan of, like, big guys from big schools that are, like, really strong and are angry people. And Latham does fit that mold. He fits the mold of, like, a Frank Pollock lineman. So, like, that probably rubbed off on Callahan in some way. But Jesus, I don't know. That's why I gave it a D, because I literally cannot understand the thought process here at all.
Yeah, I almost would have given it an even worse grade had I made this connection when I was planning for this. Like, I looked it up. They dropped out in shotgun like 13 or 14% more of the time this year. And I knew that was going to happen. Brian Callahan getting hired in Tennessee, that was going to happen. Like, that was obviously the foreseeable plan for the offense. So it just makes less and less sense to me. So that does add some clarity.
Like, I am an OT6 was Latham for me, or guard 1. Like, it's kind of like my thing, but yeah, it makes me sick.
Yeah, seriously. Poor team. For the Broncos, I was one of those people that did not think Penix, Nix, or McCarthy. Well, McCarthy, yes, but Penix or
like
Nix would be in the first round, and they obviously both go in the top 15. I wasn't a fan. Not really many people were publicly, but I think it's safe to say Sean Payton kind of outsmarted most people here, and I give it an A+.
Yeah, same. I always felt like there was such a limited ceiling with Bo Nix at his age and his kind of somewhat limited ability just to drop back and make stuff happen. Like a lot of the stuff he does plays within the structure of the offense, but that's Sean Payton, like to a T. Like Drew Brees never made stuff happen. Like he just played it within the offense really, really well. So I don't know. I didn't love it just because like I was going off of like a pure prospect mind, and like Bo Nix was not worth a 12th overall pick for me. But out of necessity, looking back at it, Dart might even go at this like around this area, and I'm like, I would absolutely take Bo Nix over Dart, even like before hindsight. Like he was a better prospect, so I feel like it actually was a good pick, and I was just kind of blinded by all the talent that was behind him. But I couldn't watch Jarrett Stidham be their starter, so I agree with the pick.
Yeah, the necessity thing is a fair point, and that is, of course, why Dart is finding himself high on these mock drafts. But yeah, I mean, I think Nix is still far better of a prospect than Dart by a mile. I would say comfortably. Like, and even after the fact, like watching a lot of Nix, and then even going back halfway through the season and kind of re-watching some of what he put on tape, I don't think people gave him nearly as much credit for being a playmaker. Like he was a player. Like there were flashes of playmaking in college and even with Denver. Like he played in structure, but there were plays. Like he made plays when he had to. He elevated that offense at times when he had to. And there's no better example than what I thought was the best play of the year against your Bengals. So that was ridiculous.
That was awesome.
So yeah, I find it hard to hate on that selection. And the same can be said for Vegas. I don't think this really requires much examination.
A+. Yeah.
A+. The Saints, though, Talise Fuaga, I believe. I still don't remember. I remember struggling with all of these names last year, and I still can't.
There's so many. Yeah.
Talise Fuaga was their selection. I gave it a B+. I was such a Troy Fontanu fan.
Yep.
Like I was huge on Fontanu, and to me, I know Fontanu was shorter, so maybe that played into it. But he was also like a left tackle in school. Fuaga, I think I don't know if he was a right tackle, but he was projected to be.
I think he actually was right, and he switched. Yeah.
Right. So I was a little bit confused because that's where obviously Fuaga ended up playing, and I think that's where he's sticking. I just thought Fontanu would have been the better pick. And I know he got hurt, so we don't really know what he is or what he will be. But both kind of projected out as guards. One was shorter, but one was also a natural left tackle. So I was just confused by this. I gave it a B+. It was whatever.
I gave it a B just because like the limited upside of the pick. He's nothing special, and I don't think he'll ever be special, but he is good. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he is part of what helped like the very early season Saints like become a good running attack again, because he is kind of a mauler like that, and his pass pro is serviceable, I guess. But I don't know. Like when you're picking it that early, you want guys that are like difference makers, not just guys that can fill a void. So I didn't like him over Mims or Fontanu at the time, but I mean he played at their level, so I'm not too mad about it.
Yeah, he did what they kind of were looking for, I guess. So whatever. The Colts. This one was controversial looking back at it. I think the pick was fine, I guess, when I felt like it was fine at the time. But going back, I gave it a C-. So I thought this was a team that could use a lot of help in a lot of different places. If they were looking at edge rusher, both Jared Verse and Dallas Turner were on the board. I think with the neck injury alone would have scared me away from Latu big time. Like I would have been going Verse or Latu, or Verse or Turner for that reason alone. And they didn't. And he was very limited impact in his first year. And even this is a team that has been looking for kind of like this lockdown top corner for a bit, and Quinyon Mitchell was on the board. And this is also a team that could have been in the conversation for a receiver. I had them trading up for Brian Thomas because I thought he was going to be going early in my mock back then, and he was missed out on. So, especially with Richardson, who could use all the help he can get, like, you know, I just, there were so many choices that this team could have went with, and they went with the one that I felt like made the lowest impact possible.
Yeah, I do see that perspective. Like, he didn't really do what you want your 15th overall pick to do. But I still went A- because Gus Bradley is a terrorist, and he does not understand how to get pressure. He doesn't know how to do it. And he has Latu, who was like a projected like pass rush specialist. Like, he's a monster with the hands, kind of played like Trey Hendrickson a little bit, and had him just like playing gap control, run defense, get your eyes in the backfield, hold the guy. Like, it's so stupid and lame. And I think with now his new defensive coordinator that has kind of helped turn Trey Hendrickson into who he is and just kind of unleash him, I think Latu's going to blow up pretty soon. And I'm never going to get mad at picking a premium position like an edge rusher. So even like a bold prediction, I think that Latu within the next 4 years is going to have 15 sacks in a season.
Wow.
Like, I think he's going to go off soon. So my excited grade is purely projection. It's not how he did, because he didn't do great, but I have faith still.
I like it. I mean, he was projected to be the best pure pass rusher out of the group, if I remember properly. So yeah, he just got to stay healthy and obviously be developed properly. But the health is and was always the big thing. So I like that. Seattle, though, I hated this looking back at it. They went with Byron Murphy out of Texas, and he was the best interior defensive guy at the time, and that's fine. But I almost felt like they did it because they felt like they missed out on Jalen Carter almost. So they're like, okay, now this year we got to do it. But they needed interior offensive line help then. They still need interior offensive line help now. Like, a mime could have broken silence to tell them, like, hey, please do this. Please draft an interior guy with 25 fucking Fontana who's on the board. Like, I was such a fan of this guy.
That's who I thought they were getting. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. So I thought that's who they should have went with. And now they have the same issue they had before. And I think Byron Murphy is going to be nothing more than a depth piece for the next couple of years with the weapons and players they have in that group. So I gave it a D.
I gave it a B- just because I loved the player so much. Like, individually, in a vacuum, Texas tape only, Byron Murphy was one of my favorite players in the class because, like, he could unleash and was like one of the more well-rounded D-tackle prospects we've seen in a while. But they just kind of had him almost playing the nose for a while, like strictly just trying to eat double teams, and that's not one, the 16th overall pick should be doing, and two, like, that's not what he's built to do. And then looking at it at the beginning of the offseason, I was like, awesome. They're going to let Jaron Reed walk. It's going to be Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy, and they're just going to go crazy together. And then they just re-signed Jaron Reed for like 3 years. So either they re-signed Jaron Reed to a big deal to be depth, or they drafted Byron Murphy to be depth. Like, it sucks to see, especially with Fontana right there, who could have projected to play tackle. I mean, they have freaking Abe Lucas playing right tackle still. He sucks. He's awful. They had Stone Forsythe as like their depth piece. Like, I don't know. Like, they didn't have a guard going in. Like, they needed to draft a guard, and they ended up settling on Christian Haynes from UConn, like in like the 3rd or 4th round, who ended up being pretty bad. So yeah, it was just a bad miss.
Anytime I hear the name Stone Forsythe, I can't even say it. It just makes me laugh. Like, what kind of name is Stone? Like, with all due respect to him, like, there's no way you could have thought he was going to be good.
Stone feet Forsythe. Yeah, that's what they call him.
It's unbelievable. I know that Witherspoon has been great for them, but I still religiously believe they fucked that up too horribly by not going with Jalen Carter. That was insane. I was floored when they didn't go with Carter.
And it's still like Witherspoon's going to be a top nickel in the NFL for the next few years, but this interior pass rush like Jalen Carter is once every 4 years. Like, this is not a thing you get every year, and there is usually a good nickel like that every year. So while he is Witherspoon is like one of the top DBs in the NFL, but Carter's like a top defensive tackle in the NFL, which is just harder to pass up on.
Mm-hmm. Right. I agree wholeheartedly. So yeah, big L in Seattle.
Idiots.
A bunch of big idiots. A bunch of big idiots in Seattle lately. Even after I mean, I guess Geno pushing his way out. It's not entirely their fault, but
no, they actually, I truly believe. Side note, I think they did the best they possibly could with Geno like forcing himself out. Like, obviously, you don't want to lose him for a third, but they had to because he didn't want to play there anymore. So they did the best they could this season.
Do you think they should have paid him what he was looking for?
No, I'd rather have Darnold for cheaper and younger than Geno. They like holding on to like the last of Geno. He's like 35. Like, he's actually kind of old. It's like holding on to the last of what you had for 45 million and then screwing the rest of your roster. I'd rather just build a good roster and then have Darnold for cheap.
Well, for the sake of asking, well, we've talked about it already. I was going to say to talk about the receivers, but we've already talked about that. I forgot what we did. All right. Oh, your Bengals. You could take this one.
I loved the pick at the time, and I still do, because the entire gripe around Mims was like he had like beautiful tape, but he was just always injured and inexperienced. Like, everything around him was A+++, but he just had to play. And then he came in and he actually took over for Trent Brown really, really well. Like, he didn't really allow a ton of pressures after like his first 3 games, and then he played his last few games with a broken hand. So any like statistical issues were usually from that. I think that he played some guys like TJ Watt really, really well. So I gave it a B+. Like, I think the floor is still scary because he can get hurt all the time, but I think there's like a legit all-pro, pass pro ceiling here that he is only tapping into.
I think the pick at the time was proper. I think it made sense. I liked Demarius Mims. I gave it a B- only because somehow their offensive line was the clear biggest need. But then the year ensuing, they managed to have such a bad defense that either Jared Verse, who went 1 pick later, or even like Quinyon Mitchell could have made such a big difference. It's like they have survived with bad offensive lines before. So they could have went without Mims, and and either of those guys, who knows what type of impact they would have made a huge.
I don't think they would have actually. I don't think Verse would have done that much on the Bengals. I think a lot of it just comes from like the Rams' attacking style of defense, and the Bengals were so conservative. The only one that's allowed to attack was Trey Hendrickson. So like, I feel like Verse would have just been playing the run, gap control, rotating in with Hubbard because they loved Hubbard for some reason. Like, I feel like, and like Trent Brown, like you could have put money on him getting hurt. So it would have been like Devin Cochran and like Cody Ford playing right tackle for a full season. I could not watch that. So I love the Mims pick, but the Rams pick, segueing into that, was Jared Verse, the guy they missed on. I don't think I have to really explain my grade, A+.
Yeah.
Best defender in the draft from this last season at 19, elite value.
No comment. A+.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh. This was another pick that finally my guy Troy finally went.
Yes.
But I didn't give it an A+ or an A- or an A. I gave it a B. I acknowledge that offensive line was a need, but once again, the whole idea of them feeling like it's a need again this year, that bothers me. When back-to-back years you invest capital in that position, and then the next year you still have the problem. It's not necessarily the pick's fault, but it's still not ideal. On top of the fact that they needed wide receivers so bad, they knew it. And after how BTJ panned out, and even like Ladd, it might have been a little rich at the time, but they needed a slot presence. And now they end up in a situation where it's 2025. They still need offensive line, and they went and invested so much capital in DK Metcalf when they could have just drafted a receiver last year and, addressed offensive line however they had to this year. So I love Troy. I just didn't think the process made sense. Hindsight.
Yeah, I didn't. I just always felt like he was a left tackle. Like that's a gripe that I've always had with them is that his footwork is so good and he has good enough length to play tackle him. Like his arms are pretty damn long. He's like 34-inch arms. Like that's
Hmm.
perfect. So he's a tackle to me. And then they draft him and then they just put him over on the right immediately, like without even thinking about it. And they never really gave him a chance to try and beat out Dan Moore or anything. They just shoved him over there to battle with Broderick Jones. And like it's like I don't know if anyone's ever boxed, but like when you are southpaw or when you are like orthodox and you have to switch your footwork completely, it's the same exact thing. Like you're still a good boxer, but now you're boxing backwards. And it's not easy. So when you're someone like Fontenot, who's known for your footwork, and then you just have to flip it and figure that out, it's not a good look. So I just didn't love the fit when like his whole thing was just being super skilled at a left tackle.
Yeah, the fit just didn't feel right. You're correct,
No.
and that's just what makes it weird that there were so many teams before that passed up on him that felt like he would have slid in and been perfect for a lot of these offenses, and then he goes
Yes.
to Pittsburgh, and it's like all of a sudden you're trying to shove a square piece in a circle hole kind of thing. But I still think he'll be solid. It just felt wrong, and I think a
Should have
receiver
been.
would have done,
Yeah.
even if he was healthy, it would have done much more for them.
Well, thank God they didn't because they're only going to get worse. Idiots.
I always forget you're a AFC. I know you're a Bengals fan, but then I forget that they're an AFC North team half the time.
Well, I also don't hate like the Browns or Ravens this much. The Steelers just piss me off. So I want them to fall in just a pit of fire. I want the other guys to do bad, but I want them to like legitimately disband as a franchise. So I'm happy. No Brian Thomas for you.
Well, Miami also didn't get Brian Thomas, but they got Chop Robinson, and um, I still don't know how I feel about this pick. Like, I kind of just left it blank. Like, I felt like it
I,
was out of their options available, it made sense. It's just one of those things where I need more time. Like, I didn't do that with many of the picks, but I just feel like there is more time required. I gave it a B plus.
I gave it a B plus as well because I love Chop Robinson, and it's just like I don't know. I think you look at the ceiling of the pick and like you don't know if he's ever like a full every down run defender kind of guy, but when you let him like just pin his ears back, go be a pass rusher, Chop Robinson's awesome. I had him as my edge 3 over Dallas Turner. Like I really really liked him. So I think he was the better pick there. And I don't know. I just also did we skip Dallas Turner?
Yes.
Yeah, we did. I'm looking back at it. I'm like, I think he was a better pick, but he's better value anyways. Dallas Turner, I gave a C plus, by the way, because he didn't play and he's not that good.
I gave Dallas Turner an A. I think he is. I think he's like developing in an incubator in Brian Flores' basement.
I
Like
hope so.
they're just. I really think this year he's going to have a bigger role, and it really was almost a Jordan Love-esque process that they put
Yeah,
him through, which is weird to trade up for a guy
yeah, that's
that's
why
not a
also why I don't like it. Yeah,
like. I think if you loved him that much, I don't know. I don't think anybody that's not a quarterback is worth trading up for and sitting.
right.
So
Especially like
that's
when you have Van Ginkel and Jonathan Grenard still there.
mhm.
Like they're probably going to be there for a while. So at best, you have a guy that can maybe rotate in as a pass rusher, but those guys are better pass rushers now.
Mhm.
So it's like I don't. When's he going to see the field? Not this year again. Like I don't know.
Right.
I don't
So
like it.
it just was odd. But like I said, I do have a lot of faith in Dallas Turner, and I think it's going to be one of those things where he goes from, at least I feel, he's like invisible, and then all of a sudden he has like that 10 sack season. It's like, holy shit, where did Dallas
I
Turner
think he
come from?
can do it. Yeah,
So
but just I don't know. But back to Chop Robinson, I guess. I think
yes.
he's the better player, better value. He's going to play more because they are losing everyone on their front 7 on defense. So I like it. B plus, but not too much more. Next one, I have no words for. I feel like we kind of I feel like we kind of know Philadelphia
Yeah.
Eagles, Quinyon Mitchell, A+ for me.
Yes.
Also, the next one after that,
A+.
Brian Thomas Jr. to the Jacksonville Jaguars, A+.
Terry and Arnold though to the Lions. I don't love the player, but it was also one of those things where I felt like it was kind of the only choice, and that was the choice they made. And because of how I graded it, I gave it an A+ because that was what I felt like was the right pick at the time.
Yeah, I gave it a C just because he wasn't very good.
No,
and that's just kind of what it was. Like, I just don't. It was like they had their pick corner. Their corners were so bad. Even with him on the team, they were bad. So I think partially they were bad because he didn't really do anything except just collect 10-yard penalties one at a time, and that's hard to watch. As like, I'd rather you give up an incompletion or give up a completion than just collect penalties all game long. It's so annoying. So I don't love it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
There's just no like physical profile. Like Quinyon Mitchell, you're like, okay, he's like 6'1.5", explosive athleticism, like a 9-something RAS score. And then Terry and Arnold, you're like, he's like maybe barely above 6 foot, probably runs like a 4.4 or something. He's okay. Like I don't see the upside there.
Yeah, and I mean he struggled. Like there was like one rep that I saw cycle to kind of keep people excited about him. It was when he like locked up Marvin Harrison at one point, and
yeah,
that was like the only rep I ever saw of him actually doing something positive. And then like his hive, it's like, yeah, see, Terry and Arnold's got it. It's like
his hive, yeah.
It's like whatever.
I was not a part. I was a firm Quinyon Mitchell corner one, but I'm also from Ohio, so I already knew about him. And I knew about the Toledo guy.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, production wise, I definitely would have docked the grade, but I felt like it was the right choice at the time. Who should they have gone with, do you think, then in that case?
I mean, it was the right pick at the time. It just ended up not being good. But Nate Wiggins, spoiler, went like only a few behind him, like 5 behind him, and was, in my opinion, like considerably better.
Okay.
I don't know how much of like a Lions fit Nate Wiggins is, because like his whole things were like he's skinny, he's not that strong, and he's kind of a baby. So it's not really like the Lion way. Arnold is at least appearing pretty tough, and like that is the Lion way. So it's who they got, but it wasn't very good.
He does. So far. He's an avid TikToker, if you didn't know that.
Oh, is he?
He's giving like women advice currently in the offseason.
Oh, I'm so happy he's doing that. So he should be getting reps with oven mitts on, like Sauce Gardner. Like, no more holding, no more illegal contact. And that's why the Lions were trying to get rid of the illegal contact being a first down rule, because his ass is just grabbing everybody before they go anywhere. So they're like, yeah, please.
That's hilarious. He legitimately had like 10 in the first like 10 weeks. Like he was on.
I would have killed myself if I had to watch that all the time. I could not do that.
Oh my god, I'd lose my shit.
Yeah.
I'd also lose my shit if I was a Packers fan. Their first round pick from last year is kind of getting shoved to the bottom of the depth chart. They don't feel. I don't know what happened. No one really knows what happened. He wasn't great or good, but it still is worth noting that they would go out and sign Aaron Banks for as much money as they did. So my only conclusion is that he's for some reason cooked.
Well, I think they're gonna move Elgton Jenkins to center. That's what it sounds like. So they're moving a really good guard to center to let Jordan Morgan play, I guess. I assume he's gonna play. I didn't think he still has to probably battle out Sean Ryan for his role, I think. Because Sean Ryan's a guy I've always kind of like sneaky liked. And I think he can still be pretty good. So he has to beat out him to play that guard spot. So I don't know. I feel weird about it. I just didn't value him that high. And he was a college tackle that moves to guard. They're just assuming he's going to be a good guard. And then he doesn't really play. So D for me. I don't see the upside here. He's not powerful enough. He's not physical enough to be an all-pro level guard. He's average at best, and I think that's bad.
Yeah, I agree. I gave it a D-. And I know at the time they never would have done this, but now looking back at it, a receiver is something that they need. And there were a few receivers that were very good that went in this range. So I think things would have been slightly different had they.
I would have preferred they pick the next guy.
King. Oh, you're talking about in the actual draft. I thought you were
Yes,
talking
in the
about
next
the
draft.
tackle rankings.
No.
Yes, Darius Robinson from Arizona. Wait, am I skipping somebody? Holy shit, I'm doing it
Graham
again.
Barton.
Tampa. They took Graham Barton. I gave that an A+, actually.
I give it an A. I thought he was awesome. Like
best
his season, I had him as my. I mean, aside from JC Latham, I probably had him as like my top interior player. Because like he just fits the mold of like literally everything that makes a good center or a good guard. So I loved him. His play was okay, but like there's growing pains when you move from tackle to center. You just skip over guard completely. Like there's growing pains there. So I'm not going to hold it against him after his rookie season. Because rookie centers aren't usually good anyways. So love the pick.
Yeah, I mean, a 17-game starter played. I don't want to quote myself saying every snap, but when I looked, I think he played close to it. So I had him going to Seattle also in my mock, and they also passed him up. So Seattle just fucking morons over there. Arizona did go with Darius Robinson though, so I was that was correct. This one I actually really tabled because I learned that I knew he missed time with an injury, but I guess he also lost his mother last year too.
Well,
so
that does suck pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna grade like how he did because you can't. I just didn't really know if I loved the like legitimate scheme fit, as like we'll say. Like he's just like a tweener between an interior and an edge player. Really, really powerful for an edge player with really good length, but like I don't know. I feel like the Cardinals don't really use players like that. So I just didn't really get the fit. I would have loved him on like a different team and maybe a little bit later, but I don't know. I think them kind of refusing to go after a bunch of interior in free agency only kind of speaks to how much they like him. So I gave it a C for now just because we didn't really see anything out of him, but I still believe he can.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, it does feel like Arizona. With that said, they might be going. Who would they go though? At 16?
I almost always mock them Mike Green. It feels like they just need pass rush so bad. I don't think Josh Sweat fixes their problems, but Walter Nolan wouldn't be crazy. Derek Harmon wouldn't be crazy. Matthew Golden wouldn't be crazy. I don't know. It feels like they're all over. They could pick offensive line. They're really anywhere.
Yeah, I know.
Anywhere but quarterback, really.
Right. Guard is kind of one of their biggest needs, but that just doesn't. It feels too early.
They just re-signed Evan Brown for 2 years. I mean, they might lose Will Hernandez. In that case, they will need a guard. I don't know. They're a weird team.
Yeah, they are. Well, Kansas City, I guess we'll save my feelings for this, but they traded with the Bills for Xavier Worthy. That was an A+ for me. Yeah. How is it not? Yeah, a great Super Bowl. Yeah. I
sure did.
I said to myself, I will be very upset if I'm watching this kid in the Super Bowl, and he was in the Super Bowl. So
did pretty well.
Actually, probably the best player on the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I gave it an A- just because like I think there's a maxed out ceiling with Xavier Worthy. Like I can't ever like envision him having like a Puka type of year where he just pops off for like a bunch of volume, but like he is a difference maker on that team, especially with Rashee Rice maybe back, pending a judge, and Hollywood Brown being back. I liked when Hollywood Brown came back because like it put Worthy in the role he's supposed to be in. So if he can start playing like that, we might work our way up to an A+.
Yeah.
Like if he hits 1,000 yards in a season, he's an A+. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think he absolutely is going to. I'll never forget his first fucking touch, and I almost threw the TV remote through the wall.
He just catches a touchdown, you just throw up immediately. Like,
well, he took the end around to the house. That was his first touch for the touchdown. I literally almost fucking turned around and whipped my phone through the drywall. I was so pissed. I still am mad, and actually, I'll save it. Dallas went with Tyler Guyton at 129, and you did kind of give some thoughts about it earlier. I interpreted his profile as like, I mean, the guy's massive. Like he's like 6'8".
He's long.
And he was supposed to be, I think, a project, right? He was inconsistent. That was what I remember. And I take that as being a project. His rookie year wasn't great. I do think it was one of those things where it can work out. It's what they needed. But once again, because of what we found out they really needed in 2024, which was a second wide receiver, and knowing who was around at that time, definitely made me feel like maybe they could have went elsewhere with this selection. But I still gave it a B+ because I think if anywhere for Tyler Guyton to figure out, I think Dallas having offensive line history, it could work.
I gave it a C just because I think he's not that good. It's just kind of how it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think when I see a developmental player, I don't even know how to explain it. I just feel like I can look at them and kind of understand if there's a big room for growth. And I don't see a ton of room for growth in Tyler Guyton. Like I feel like he will improve because if he doesn't, he's cut. So I don't know. I just don't love it. Like a first round pick just needs to be a difference maker to me. And he was a difference maker in that he got his quarterback sacked a lot. So I don't know. Not for me yet.
Well, I think this back half. So the first round too, though, is to counter argument in a way. This is getting to like that early second round type of range. So you're not always expecting these guys to be instant impact players, even though there were a couple in this range. But I think I give a little bit more grace to selections at this point because more often than not, there aren't 32 players in the draft that are worth a first round pick. So I think I give grace to that too. And once again, it was really they had big shoes to fill there. So they had to address it.
And for me, that just comes from them being inept in free agency.
Yeah.
And signing they're like, what should we get? Zeke? Okay. That's it? Sure. Like they're just gonna sign Zeke. No, like there was plenty of tackles available, and they're just gonna like kick them all to the wind because we're just gonna draft one and then get like Marshawn Neal in later and just refuse to get anything that really helps their team.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, part of that also is just process of the being stupid.
Yeah. And Jerry Jones said something very stupid recently. Did you hear what he said like 2 days ago?
Yeah, I get what I want when I want it. Like
I'd rather wait and pay to make sure I'm making the right decision or something stupid like that. So now he's going to end up paying Micah Parsons. Who knows what happens with that, but he'll get paid.
I thought it was just weird that he said that he's always gotten whatever he wanted, no matter what. Like he's like, I get what I want. Like everything I've ever wanted to get, I get. I'm like, ugh. That's weird.
I don't interpret that in the best ways coming from a guy like that.
No, well, I mean, integration happened. He didn't really want that, so.
Yeah, we talked about that in depth before, which is kind of funny. Yeah, Jerry Jones, probably an F for character.
Yes.
Baltimore. Mm-hmm. I'm just making sure I'm still on.
You are on track.
Yes. Baltimore
27.
Did go with Nate Wiggins. I gave this an A+.
A+. And it's like, wasn't special, but like when you get a good pick here, like a good starter, that's an A. Like especially when like at this point in the draft, you're making a lot of decisions. Like they needed pass rush, they could bolster their interior O-line, and they went corner, which they didn't really need necessarily. But I guess they predicted Brandon Stevens would be terrible this season because he was pretty decent before. And then this last year, he was like legitimately like butt cheeks. So they replaced him with Nate Wiggins immediately, and it was good. It was a better product. So kudos, A+.
Yeah, and you were saying how coming out of the draft, he necessarily wasn't the most aggressive player, but he actually, I thought, helped in run support a lot more than you would have expected him to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Kool-Aid McKinstry was supposed to be that more physical type of player, and it kind of at that time thought maybe if they were going to go corner, Kool-Aid would have made more sense, but I thought Nate ended up actually being a lot more than what they even thought he was going to be. So
yeah,
A+ for multiple reasons.
Mm-hmm.
The 49ers, Mr. Ricky Pearsall, got shot and then recovered. And they did have I think I had mocked an offensive tackle to them, but there really weren't any left that I felt would have been a good pick here. And I think a receiver, although I don't recall ever thinking they would do this, but they did. And I gave it an A. I think it's a good pick.
I just gave it a C, and the only rationale was like, he wasn't gonna go anywhere near this really from most teams. Like I always had Lab McConkey a lot higher, especially seeing him like 4 spots later and how well he did. It's like, I don't know. You could almost feel like the 49ers roster was starting to deplete a little bit. And I don't know. I think Ricky Pearsall will be good. He'll be a good receiver. But again, at this point, like their front seven was so bad this season. Defensive line, offensive line, like it's just such like a more premium position. And then reaching on Pearsall in the first, I didn't love it, but I think he can still be good when he's not being shot.
Yes. he just feels like to me, seeing him in a 49er jersey and sliding into Shanahan's offense.
I think
I thought it was a good fit. So I
it is a good fit.
A little bit.
It is a good fit.
And that's probably why Brandon Ayuk is feeling pressure. So Carolina, they took this is the last pick of the first round. They took my boy Xavier Legette. Rest in peace, my hype train. He wasn't awful, but he also wasn't everything and anything I ever hoped for. So I gave it a C- with Lad on the board.
Yeah, I gave it a C- too. Because there is upside, right? Like you see, like he's like one of the most physically impressive receivers in this draft. Could probably put him at like 2 or 3 in that area. It's just like he's so stiff. He's so stiff. Like his hips are like completely connected to his legs, and there's no it's like they don't exist, and he just has to turn his whole body at the same time. So I didn't love it. I don't think there's ever going to be a route runner here. I think he is strictly win vertically or catch the ball short and win that way. And to trade up for him in that spot, bad. I would have honestly been cool if he just fell a little bit later to them. But I guess they promised him they'd take him in the first or take him with their pick, so they just traded up for him. But
yeah,
I think the trade up really hurt my grade.
Fair enough. I honestly forgot that part even happened. I think I just remember watching Legette like the few times I caught him playing with Carolina. It felt like he just wasn't playing with the same like confidence that I thought he was playing at in college. Like he was running at full speed, like he was Superman when I was watching him on tape at times. And then in the NFL, I mean, I get it's a different playing field, and that's where the whole don't have to talk about transition, but it just felt like I wasn't watching the same player at times. And the guy that had the ball running through players after the catch in college, there were flashes of it, but nowhere near as exciting of flashes that I was kind of expecting, it was kind of his whole game is like, get the ball in this guy's hands and he's going to do something with it. And that really never happened. In fact, he had a hard time even catching the ball at times. So
yeah, that was a bad drop to lose to the Eagles. But I don't know. To me, when I scout receivers, they're all built differently. So you can't always hate the ones that don't separate. Like you can't always hate the ones that don't win at the catch point. Like they are built differently, and you kind of have to project off of that. But there always has to be an element of smoothness to be good. Even if you're like Ted McMillan, who's not a great separator, he's really smooth in what he does. AJ Brown's not the most natural separator, but he is pretty smooth for being as massive as he is. So I just don't see that element with Legette, and I don't see him really improving a whole lot more from here.
Yeah, I could agree. After seeing his rookie year, I think there's a capped ceiling with him, which never would have been my thought process before the draft. It's like the complete opposite of why you draft Xavier Legette, is because it looks like this guy has every single measurable to be a limitless potential. And now, yeah, that's not the case now. That brings us to Buffalo at the 33rd selection. They, of course, decide they essentially say, okay, Xavier Worthy, you're not enough for us. We want Keon Coleman instead. That's basically what that whole transaction said. Before I ramble, I'm going to give it an F and pass it to you.
All right. Well, mine wasn't that bad because mine wasn't
F.
Mine was not full of heartbreak. I wasn't like sad to see that happen. I was just like, I like the process, right? Like you have a guy and you feel pretty comfortable that you can get him a few spots later. I don't think Worthy was ever their guy. So I think when they just decided to go Coleman, they made the right move, but he just wasn't good enough. And I think I do see an element of him being able to develop. Like he does have an element of smoothness to his game. Where I'm like, okay, like the hips could be there. They could be. And like he could be an impact player someday, but I don't know. I don't love it. I do think them only going out and getting Josh Palmer is an indication that they do expect Keon Coleman to be an impact player on this team and get a lot of reps. So I'll give it a C. Still not good. Not good at all. But there is I can see a world in which it is good someday. Like it's got to be better than Gabe Davis. It has to be.
You hope.
Yeah, someday it has to be.
You hope the first round pick is better than the fourth, right? I mean, yeah, there is definitely a possibility, especially with the way prospects that wind up being Buffalo Bills players, they take some time. That's just how Brandon Beane likes to draft. And as frustrating as it is, I do know that's true. But I still remain furious that they opted out of Worthy. That is part of my grade. But the other thing that bothers me is like there's conversations now of maybe wanting to play him in the slot because people feel like he can be a slot player, and it's like I swear to fucking God, if I see Keon Coleman line up in the slot, I'm gonna lose it.
Like, what the hell is Shakir gonna do?
What about Curtis Samuel? Like you have another guy that you haven't found a home for that can't play anywhere else, and then you're gonna throw your first round pick there because he can't play on the outside. He's 6'4", 215.
If you want to shove him there like on the goal line, sure, whatever. In packages, maybe. Permanently, I would kill myself. That would be the worst thing to ever. Like, who's going to play outside? Josh Palmer? And who? Not Shakir. He's not winning downfield and catching it on somebody's head. Who's it going to be? Shakir is such a perfect slot for an offense like this. Don't move him. Never move him. Like, that's disgusting.
If you have to move a player to a spot that is already occupied by another good player to make that player work, he's not a good player. Like
Kincaid, what like he could play that role.
Literally,
like, I'd rather have anybody else.
We have endless slot options. The Bills have endless slot receiving options. And the last thing you need to do is throw Keon there because he can't fucking win on the outside.
Your QB is built to go that way, and to have a guy that could take the top off the team off the field would be amazing. And they're like, okay, Josh Palmer, here you go. This is it. Like, this is what we're doing. I mean, they could still invest in receiver in this draft. It wouldn't be crazy, especially with the depth of it. But for now, I hate it.
That brings me to kind of my other emotional rage with this, which re-sparked this morning when I think I read the news. The Bills hosted Isaiah Bond, or he's visiting, which is fine. That means nothing. It's a visit. But it would really rub me the wrong way if they went through the process of moving out of Xavier Worthy range to draft Keon Coleman, this fast Texas receiver that fit what you wanted last year that you opted out of, just 1 year later to draft another Texas receiver who's not as fast, nowhere near as good, which I feel like is being – people don't understand that. Like Isaiah Bond is not as good as Xavier Worthy. They just see two fast Texas receivers and they're like, oh, what's the difference? There's a huge difference.
I'm also like not hearing good things about Bond's character at this point. Got his job essentially stolen. I know he was hurt, but he basically got stolen by Matthew Golden, who came in as a Houston transfer that was supposed to be a utility guy and then steals his spot because he was just better. But like, I'm hearing some like real character concerns about Bond. Like I heard, I don't know the full extent. Someone did say Jermaine Burton level would not be ideal. But like, I think he's just out here like missing meetings for butt cheeks. And like, he is just so like unmotivated to be better. I feel like I heard he wouldn't go in the gym. Like, I don't know. He's just a hoe, I heard. So you don't want that on your team.
No,
not when you're drafting him early, like third round. Is that where they're wanting Bond? Don't do that.
No, like
go safety. You can go like nose tackle, weapons. You could go linebacker, corner. whatever you wanted. Don't do that.
I will be so disgusted if that's the process they take. Like in my perfect world, they went with Worthy last year, and then this year, they can look at a Jaden Higgins in the third round instead of Isaiah Bond. Like
Trey Harris, Jaden Higgins,
any of
Jack
them.
Beck, Alec Io Manor. There's so many. And then they're like, you know what? Keon Coleman, who I actually would have lower than everyone I just said. Like, even with hindsight, I have their grades with a number higher. Insane.
Fucking yeah. So I even called into my local radio station earlier. I'm an uncle. I'm an unk. I listened. I went from listening to music on my drive to and from work. Now
calling into the radio station.
When I thought of this because they were talking about the Bond thing. I'm like, I have to say this because I cannot be the only Bills fan that would be so fucking pissed off if they went with Bond a year after passing on Worthy. That would really drive me nuts. So yeah.
That's insane. Well, calling in on the radio on an iPhone is crazy.
Leave me alone. I'm old.
Like that's crazy. But thank God, at least there were no good receivers available. Which brings me to my next point. Ladd McConkey immediately after this. And I know people have an idea that like you can't have two receivers of the same archetype on the same team. Not true. I just want three good ones. Puka and Cooper Kupp are both essentially like Z/slot players. They did just fine. So even passing up on Ladd McConkey, who can absolutely win vertically and downfield and can play outside. I don't want to hear it. Like that would have been such a better pick than Keon Coleman. So A+ for me though, Chargers. Good job on passing on on Malik Neighbors, getting Joe Alt, and then getting Ladd McConkey. That is how you fucking draft. God damn it. That makes me feel so good inside.
That is how it's done. The Chargers had that a Texans level turnaround with this draft.
Their draft was crazy. Like Tarheeb Still is like actually really good. Cam Hart also really, really solid. Like they didn't miss a single pick. Not even Junior Colson could be good someday. Like legitimately A+++++ draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even
the Falcons though.
Fucking me, dude. I literally like crashed out when I saw this selection. I'm like, who the like I said, my awareness of the draft really extended to like the first round, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then the second round came along, and I saw this, and I'm like, who? I knew Tavondre Sweat and like Johnny Newton was still on the board, which was confusing at the time. Like, what are we doing here? Like, this is my understanding of him was Rook was an athlete for his size, but kind of a big risk. Like that was kind of my interpretation of him. And
he is a long raw 3-tech. Yeah. Like
he did nothing.
He did literally nothing. And so much so that later in the draft, they draft Brandon Dorless from Oregon, who is, shocker, the same exact thing. A penetration style athletic 3-tech, who I actually thought was a better prospect. So good job getting Dorless. The Rook pick is stupid. I don't like Penix and then Rook, and they still didn't get an edge rusher. Jesus Christ. And they still don't have one. Like here, Lorenzo Carter for the win, I guess. You know what I mean? Like this is insane. I hate them so much.
Me too. I think Raheem Morris has made me hate the Falcons. It's going
to happen too. Like they picked up Leonard Floyd this season. That's just going to be their guy.
Yep.
Leonard Floyd, they got like washed out on every run play last season. That's their guy. And that's like when they're interviewed after the first round asking, why didn't you get Mike Green or Michael Williams or Shamar Stewart or whoever was there? They're going to be like, what did we have Leonard Floyd? What do you mean? He had 10 sacks like 4 years ago. And then like, I don't know what they're going to pick. Based off of their picks right now, predict it. Who do you think the Falcons are going to get?
Rationally or Falcon? Or
no,
in a
Falcon
Falcons
wise.
way? Falcon wise? Oh, Jesus. Oh, boy. In that range, like, they could end up going with, I'm trying to even think, like, what would be possible? If we're still trying to think somewhat rationally, then
no.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Well, maybe Starks? Like,
I'm going to go Colston Loveland.
Okay. That would be
I think because they like to think years in advance, apparently. Like
No
4
way.
years down the line, they're gonna be like, Kyle. We're probably gonna get rid of Kyle Pitts within a year. We're gonna need a new tight end in like 2028. So Colston Loveland fits that perfectly. Like that's what they're going to do, and it's gonna be insane.
Oh, if they go Colson Loveland at what 15, 15, 16? That oh my god,
16,
that
yeah.
that would be on brand. That would be on brand. I mean they can't be that dumb. They can't do this 2 years in a row.
Rook Aurora in the second. Michael Penix in the first. They got Braylon Trice also didn't play. Either way, not a great pick. And then they got Brandon Dorless. Like what are we doing? This is insane. This is so stupid. But
Yes.
at least the next pick was decent. The very next pick was another penetration style defensive tackle in Johnny Newton, who just fell into the Commander's lap. I wasn't in love with him as a prospect, but that's because he was projected like the mid first. Early second, this is a slam dunk. This is just a good value pick. I gave that an A.
Yeah, I gave it a B plus. Like same kind of reasoning. Like any team that was looking for that at that point in the draft, like how are you not just spamming the draft button? Like what are we doing, Atlanta? Like what are we doing here, Atlanta? Like Johnny Newton has been on the board for 17 picks longer than anybody thought he was going to, and you're not fucking taking him.
I thought he might be a Bengal at one point, like at 7, like or whatever 18. Like I thought that was a possibility. So for him to be here,
Atlanta traded up to that pick for Rook too, didn't they?
I don't know.
I think they did.
I mean, looking at the way the draft fell, so they were the 8th pick. It looks like it, right? Yeah,
I think
looks like it. I would be so pissed. He was not even going in the second.
Oh.
They didn't. Think this is like I don't even. When has this ever happened where like you trade up for a guy that was never going to go there in the first place? Like disgusting.
Yeah.
Either way,
poor Atlanta fans.
Here, I'll turn the attention from Atlanta then onto, in my opinion, the worst pick in the draft possibly. The New England Patriots getting Jalen Polk, whatever, from Washington. They got the third best Washington receiver. Congratulations, F. God damn it! Like. I don't understand the thought process here. I would have rather had Jalen McMillan, who was way better. Shocker. Like,
I mean, even AD Mitchell, like AD Mitchell's sitting there. Like what? Like I get he has diabetes, but who cares?
So like, Mark Andrews, like
yeah, I know. Like I don't know. This pick made no sense. I gave it a D minus. The only reason why I didn't give it an F is because I don't think he's good, but they had absolutely nobody there, and he still couldn't get on the field. There's no way it was because he was that bad. They had something had to have been going on. Something had to have been going on.
You have Demario Douglas, who's like a midget from Liberty, gets the reps. Like I don't know. They're letting Keyshawn Butte get in here and get reps, who was thought to be like kicked out of the league essentially. Like I don't understand how an early second round pick from Washington doesn't get on the football field, like at all. Like I'm mind boggled.
Even if he's that bad, you're in a position where you have to really figure that out. Like
let him play. Yeah,
just keep throwing him out there until he literally can't get open, to the point where he's getting like shoved into the ground or someone's on his hip constantly, and you're like, dude, like get off. Like you have to get to that point. And he never even had a chance to get to that point because he was never out there.
Nope.
So yeah, that was bizarro, big time bizarro. But Tennessee
horrible
was right on, hit the nail on the head with this pick. This was a fat A plus. Devondre Sweat, fucking beast on the interior. Such a Tennessee type player too.
And like not nobody, but a lot of people had him pretty low because like there was a bunch of character stuff with him. They're like, he's too fat, he'll never amount to anything. Like he doesn't even like football that much. Clearly he does, because he just eats people and he eats double teams. I mean, have you seen that dude return a fumble?
I think I did. Yeah, it's
terrifying. I did. Terrifying. I mean, the big guy can move, and he has like shocking pass rush juice for being a apparently fat ass who couldn't lose weight. So good pick. And they have Sebastian Joseph Day back. Like their run defense is looking pretty solid if they can do anything else in the draft.
Yeah. I'm a big Devondre Sweat fan myself. I'm also
bring Rand Carthon back. Bring him back.
Did you see they had him interviewing Cam Ward?
Yes. Yes. He should have been like, you'll hate it there. Like he should have been acting like this is like a Get Out thing, like a Get Out situation, and like
that was so
poor
bad.
guy.
Poor guy's right. Like, come on, man. Like,
he had like 2 years. They let him give him like 2 years, and then he was done.
I think Tom Telesco was still done pretty bad too after the draft he had with Vegas. I get why they did it, but yeah, I thought he was done dirty.
They've done well so far, so I'm actually not that. I mean, unless they knew they were going to get this guy currently and just kill it, I don't know.
Yeah.
Regardless, the Rams,
A+.
Yeah, I mean, sure, there's your things. He's not a great run defender. Braden Fisk, we're talking about D tackle from Florida State, but like he fits them so perfectly. Like the attacking style, downhill, pass rush. They already have Kobe Turner. They just picked up. Oh my God, they picked up Poona Ford. This defense is so good.
Mm-hmm.
If they can draft a linebacker, Carson Schlesinger first round to fit right behind these guys. Oh my God, this is like legit, like elite defense.
Oh yeah,
Damn.
this is one of the best defensive fronts in football, which is insane to say after you lose Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, that were all playing at the top of their career.
The front is like arguably playing better, like as a cohesive unit than they were then. With like who are their linebackers? Omar Spates and like Christian Roseboom.
Yeah,
Roseboom's ass is gone, but like they're probably going to get first or second round linebacker Demetrius Knight. Even like, oh, this is going to be beautiful.
Yes,
it's so beautiful.
I'm excited for the Rams. I always love rooting for Matthew Stafford. It's just so easy. And then pick 40 was also A+.
Yeah, so, I mean not Cooper DeJean to the Philadelphia Eagles. I had him projected in the first round.
Me too.
I thought somebody would throw a flyer out there. I mean, I guess no one really went DB in the second round before him, so it wasn't like he was in any danger to go. But like, dude, he was just so good for them. This is how do they get away with it all the time? Like it wasn't like they just drafted him and then like developed him into a beast. He always was a beast and just fell in the draft into their lap. They traded up for him. I hate them.
Howie Roseman's a falling prospect merchant. I think that's
literally.
He's just the rest of the league is just like, here you go, have him.
I could draft well if Jalen Carter just falls into my lap. What do you mean?
Honest to God, like even Jordan Davis was. I can't remember. I don't think he fell. Did he fall?
No, he's not even that good.
No, he's not. But at the time, that was a big deal.
It was a big deal because he was like 355 pounds and ran like a 4.9. Like that was terrifying. But
yeah, Howie Roseman's a falling prospect merchant. He's not.
Literally, he is. He's not. He's actually not. He's really
all right, that was fun. Maybe
that was good.
Return to that idea again at some point, but that will wrap up episode 22. So if you enjoyed, leave your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed, also like, subscribe, comment, share, and we will see you in episode 23.